Good morning, everyone. Today, myself, Dr. Sarita, and today we would be doing the poem A Prayer for My Daughter by W.B. Yeats. Before doing a line by line analysis of the poem, let me give you a very brief introduction to the poem. A Prayer for My Daughter is an intensely personal poem written in 1919, that is, just after the First World War. A few weeks after W.B. Yeats's daughter Anne was born, this poem speaks about the anxiety felt for the well being of his daughter, as also about the anxiety shared by all fathers all over the world torn by war and greed. He thinks how his daughter will face the coarse and vulgar world. He imagines the war drums which forecast the struggle for survival. He thinks that the cruelty of man is more dangerous than the murderous innocence of the sea. He believes that she can protect herself by cultivating virtues of nobility and courtesy. He prays that his daughter should have beauty but not vanity. He wants his daughter to have happy and innocent thoughts in her mind. She should scatter her happiness all around. Her soul should flourish like a flourishing tree. He wants his daughter to be free from hatred and to shun strong and stubborn opinion on any subject, political or otherwise. He wants innocence to replace hatred. It will give inner peace to his daughter. He wishes his daughter to get married in a good aristocratic family and lead a happy life. The poet expresses deep concern for his infant daughter who sleeps in a cradle. The roof leveling strong wind is blowing outside. She is well covered and protected from the onslaughts of the violent wind. He paces up and down and prays for the well being of his daughter. The strong wind makes the poet gloomy. He thinks how his daughter will face the coarse and vulgar world. He imagines the war drums which forecast his struggle for survival. He thinks that the cruelty of man is more dangerous than the murderous innocence of the sea. She must protect herself by a shield. The shield stands for qualities and virtues. So the poet wants his daughter to be virtuous and good. The poet prays that his daughter should have beauty and not vanity. Helen, the most beautiful woman, eloped with Prince Paris of Troy, and this resulted in the destruction of Troy. Similarly, Aphrodite or Venus married Hephaestus, the lame blacksmith of the gods, unwisely betrayed him later on. Gone, the poet's beloved, married a worthless man, Macbride, and remained unhappy. Thus, the poet wants his daughter to inculcate the virtues of courtesy and humility. The heats of people can be won by courtesy. The hearts. Even those who are not very beautiful can win the hearts of others by showing courtesy. Virtues in a woman are more important than physical beauty. The poet wants his daughter to have happy and innocent thoughts in her mind. She should scatter her happiness all around. Her soul should flourish like a flourishing tree, which gives comfort to all. He considers hatred as the worst of all evils, so he prays that his daughter should be free from this evil. If the person does not entertain hatred, no misfortunes can possibly ruin his happiness. Then he thinks that intellectual hatred is the worst kind of hatred. It is the worst flaw in a person's character. So he wants his daughter to shun strong or stubborn opinions on any subject. The poet says that his daughter should be married in a good aristocratic family which observes traditional manners and courtesies. His love for traditional aristocratic values is reflected in the poem. He wants his daughter to follow the traditional norms and values. Now, let's begin the first stanza, an analysis of the poem, beginning with the stanza 1. Let me read the stanza first and go on to explain. Once more the storm is howling, and half hid under the cradle hood and coverlid my child sleeps on. There is no obstacle but Gregory's wood and one bare hill, whereby the haystack and roof leveling wind, bred on the Atlantic, can be stayed. And for an hour I have walked and prayed because of the great gloom that is in my mind. The poem, A Prayer for My Daughter, opens with the image of a child sleeping in a cradle, half hidden by its hood. The child sleeps innocently amidst the howling storm outside. But Yeats couldn't settle down due to the storm inside. The storm howling symbolizes destruction, mentioned by the poet in the second coming. The wind bred in the Atlantic Ocean has no obstacles except the estate of Lady Gregory, referring to the poet's patroness, and a bare hill. The direct impact of the wind, meaning to the force of the outside world, especially on his daughter, worries the poet. Because of this great gloom, he walked and prayed for his daughter to be protected from the physical storm outside and the political storm brewing across Ireland at that time. Going on to the next stanza, stanza 2. I have walked and prayed for this young child an hour, and heard the sea wind scream upon the tower and under the arches of the bridge, and scream in the elms above the flooded stream, imagining in excited reverie that the future years had come, dancing to a frenzied drum out of the murderous innocence of the sea. In this stanza, a prayer of a prayer for my daughter, Yeats worries about the future. He hears the sea screaming upon the tower, under the bridge, and elms are trees, above the flooded stream. The onomatopoeia, words scream and the flooded stream, symbolize the poet's overwhelming anxiety for his daughter. Also, it refers to the great flood in the Bible. Due to this haunting fear, he imagines the future coming out of the sea, which is a personification, out of the sea, and dances to the frenzied drum, referring to war and bloodshed. In the last line, the poet employs paradox, oxymoron, murderous innocence, to contrast the world and his daughter, which also recalls the images of blood, dimmed tide in the second coming. Moving on to stanza 3. May she be granted beauty, and yet not beauty to make a stranger's eye distraught, or hers before a looking glass. For such being made beautiful overmuch, consider beauty a sufficient end, lose natural kindness, and maybe the heart revealing intimacy that chooses right and never find a friend. In the third stanza of A Prayer for My Daughter, Yeats prays for his daughter to be gifted with beauty. At the same time, he doesn't want her beauty to distraught or make her dependent on her beauty for everything. Further, he doesn't want her to become proud or vain, that she spends all her day staring at the mirror and fails to have natural companionship. The poet implies too much beauty to be a dangerous one, that he wants her to be beautiful enough to secure a husband. This much for today's video, girls, but we will continue the poem in the next video. Till then, thank you.